to say why you wanted to rear me as a black person and not a biracial person.
The world sees my family as black. The world sees all interracial people as black. In order for you to survive with credibility and expertise, you need to understand that you as black, so you must get used to that definition because it's going to be carried with you wherever you go. When people see other people, the first thing they see is color.
Welcome to One Drop Elopes with me and Moses. I'm your host, Benita Offset. One Drop Elopes is my constructive response to demystify and replace white supremacy with the just system. Thanks for listening live or downloading this broadcast, whether you're on YouTube, iHeart, Spreaker, or iTunes. One Drop Elopes is a weekly broadcast on Intellectual Radio that streams live every Sunday at 12 noon Central. For unaware listeners, One Drop Elopes is not just an entertaining radio show. It's a model that on every show educates and equips our people to utilize their gifts in a constructive manner. Therefore, One Drop Elopes will showcase and be a collective archive of Black folk who are actively doing their part to pursue justice via a wide array of perspectives, discussions, and presentations. The chief sponsor for One Drop Elopes is Benita's Homemade Things. Email Benita at benitaoffset@gmail.com to place an order or for more information. All right, now, thank you so much, Wanda. I appreciate you helping us out with that. Yeah, it says it's still live. Okay. Moses, how you doing today?
Hi, fam. Spoiler warning.
Okay, Moses wants us to share with you all that he's got a spoiler warning or a spoiler alert because he wants to talk about some movies and the movie that he's interested in talking about.
I was interested talking about Ant-Man and Wasp, but I was interested talking about Ant-Man and Wasp. You was interested in talking about Incredibles. So we're going with Incredibles.
Okay, we're going to talk about Incredibles. Okay, so Moses and I have gone to a couple movies. You know, it's summertime, big blockbuster movies, and that's one of the things that we love to do together as a mother and child is go to movies. And so we went to Incredibles. We saw Incredibles 1 a long time ago, and
we saw
when
Incredibles
it first came
2,
out. And then we went to the movie for Incredibles 2, and then we saw
Ant-Man 1.
We saw Ant-Man 1 at home, and then we bust out and ran and went to go watch Ant-Man 2 at the thing. But Moses, how are these movies? Like, do you think that these are good movies for children to watch?
Well, if you could say most of the movies you pick could be good movies, but like Ant-Man, they are good movies because sometimes they teach stuff about science and they teach stuff about how ants work together and how certain things are actually true science that they put inside there.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what scientific things did you learn watching Ant-Man?
I can't remember, but it was this the Pym particles.
What's Pym particles? I don't know what Pym particles are. You teaching me something right now.
Okay, it's like these particles that give Ant-Man the power to shrink down. It's like making it so his body is much more closer together and smaller. Oh. And I also learned because there's much more closer, smaller, he needs air, oxygen, because there's less oxygen in that space. So he has an oxygen chain, because that's why he has all that stuff in the helmet.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I didn't even get that from watching the movie. So how did you learn that?
Well, one, I watch YouTube videos. Two, why else would we wear a helmet?
Okay, did you guys know that?
And also, because he also has a helmet, it goes good because it has those antennas and it also has a built-in tech that has the earpiece thingies.
The helmet has the tech in it. See, there's this earpiece thing that they wear in Ant-Man, the first movie as well as the second movie, that helps them control ants.
Yeah.
Man, can you imagine if you had ants at your disposal?
Yeah.
Like Moses, would you rather have the power to control ants, or would you rather have the power to, I don't know, control water, or not water, but like, would you rather have the power to control ants, or would you rather have the power to control like a mighty lion? but you can only control one mighty lion, but you could control all the ants.
All the ants.
So you prefer all the
Man,
ants?
like bold ants and poisonous ants and crazy ants, and then there's red ants and multiple ants that can, those ants that electrical ants.
Oh, electrical ants, yeah.
And also those ants that are actually it's the crazy ants or red ants that can form like a bridge or form
so that you can walk across it.
Or a raft. Like, did you see Ant-Man in the movie? The first movie, he formed a whole raft.
I remember that. Yes.
That was so cool.
The one thing, Moses, I do not like about Incredibles is the way they make the black man look in Incredibles. That bothers me.
Who, Frozen?
Yeah.
His mom?
It's that woman that I think he's supposed to be married to her, and she's always like, he's a good guy in the movie, and they make him look good, and he's this great superhero, but the woman that he's in a relationship with, she's always yelling at him.
Yeah.
So I guess it makes a black woman look bad. You noticed that? Did you ever pay attention to that?
Yeah, you as soon as that you saw that, you told me that, and also I knew that. And we don't know if Frozone's wife is black, do we?
I'm listening to the voice. Her voice
Yeah.
sounds very black. Hey, Bridget.
For all we know, Frozen's wife could be a robot.
Okay.
And I see that. I saw that too. And also, like, she's just yelling at him.
Just yelling at him all the time.
Yeah, like, it was like
she said something like, "Where you going?"
He's like, he was talking to Mr. Incredibles, and Mr. Incredibles like, "Okay, come here ASAP." He's like, "Okay, I'll be there ASAP." He wants to grab his suit, and he's like, "Where you going? You better be back ASAP."
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, "Yeah." And she puts on the suit.
And he just ignores her.
Yeah.
And then goes out into the world to save the world. So I'm glad that he's out there helping to save the world, but I just wish that relationship was looked better.
Also,
but other than that, I love the Incredibles. Like, I like the little baby and all the amazing things the baby could do.
You were talking about switching gender roles too. Like when the dad was at home and the mom was over fighting criminals.
They did switch gender roles, absolutely.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they did differently in Incredibles than they did in Breaking In, when we talked about that, is when they switched the gender roles in Incredibles.
It was less switching gender roles?
Well, the dad still was allowed to be a dad.
Yeah.
He was still allowed to be a man. Like, for instance, he didn't do nurturing the same way a woman would do nurturing. He kind of he also was still very strong, and he responded to his children the way you would kind of expect a man to do in that role. And then she only took the job because outside the home, because he wasn't allowed, or there wasn't an opportunity for him. It was an opportunity for her. And she took the opportunity hoping that it will give him an opportunity later on. You remember that? He was like, and then she also talked and discussed it with them. And he was like, you got to take the job. You got to, because it's going to be good for the family, for the world, for all superheroes. You remember that?
And also, she's going to do the job so I can do it better. He's like, do the job so I can do it.
Right. He said, go ahead and do the job so I can do it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he didn't lose any masculinity at all.
I like how it was like when he was with his kids, and then the bus was coming, and then he's like, hey, the bus is here.
Oh, yeah, because he was like kind of later, slow at getting his children ready, and then he had to like hustle up, and yeah, exactly.
There was also like a time where where the baby was very frustrating that he put a table on top of it, then some bricks or something on top of the baby crib. Then, like, that didn't help because he figured out the baby had superpowers.
So
to phase through walls.
He definitely, when he was struggling with trying to take care of the baby, he definitely didn't respond to the baby the way maybe a nurturing mother would. So he definitely, maintained his role as a man.
There's also more times where there was the math and with his daughter, but he got used to that the more he stayed there because with the baby he went to that babysitter that gave him the baby the super suit that can help the baby.
The thing that I liked about it too is, as a man, he's fixed the problems the way you would expect a man to. So he went and he figured out what the problems were. He fixed the problems, and then he went and figured out ways to solve them. I mean, a woman would do that too, but being a woman, like how I fix problems at home is usually just to do it at home. I don't always. I don't know. Like for instance, if my child needed help with homework, I would just help him with the homework. If my child was crying, I would just pick my child up and hold my child. But what he did was he went and he sought out help from somebody he could get the help from, that lady who makes the uniforms for them.
It was. I can't believe that lady made like the
Jesus,
security code for the baby.
that was good too. That was very interesting. So anyway, the movie is fun and but as far as one of the things that we like to do here on One Drop Elopes is discuss how things affect us and how things help Black folk. So Moses, how do you think this movie does this movie do anything to hurt Black families, or are there any lessons that Black families can get from that movie?
Oh, when the Frozone and Frozone, his wife, that could be one lesson.
Or it could be seen as harmful.
Yeah, it can be seen as harmful.
Or a subliminal message that we don't get along as a people, or a subliminal message that Black women are always yelling at their men, or a subliminal message is that Black men are running away from and not listening to their women.
Yeah.
But are there any positive subliminal messages that we can take from that to kind of help our people?
Black people are heroes.
Black people are heroes. Anything else?
That the father will always take care of his children.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have to. What we can do is, instead of only seeing ourselves in the role of the person who looks like us, like Frozone and his wife that I've never seen, right?
I don't think we're ever gonna see Frozen's wife, because it wasn't in Incredibles 1 or Incredibles 2. It's just her voice.
She doesn't matter according to Incredibles.
Yeah.
So instead of seeing ourselves in the images of the actual Black people on the show, we can also maybe try to look at ourselves, evidence or replicas of ourselves in the people, like say the Incredibles family.
I have a question.
I'm listening.
It could not be Frozen's wife, but his mom.
Oh, that's and see, it's really sad if it is his wife, because she does talk to him like a child.
And it could be his sister trying to be a bigger sister.
Like a boss of him of some sorts.
Yeah.
Interesting. So then does that make us look good? Because it's a grown man living with his mother, or a grown man living with his sister?
Well,
is that okay?
I don't know. A grown man living with his mother. A grown man living with his wife is fine. A grown man living with his sister was kind of fine, but with his mother, like on the edge of falling off.
Well, I guess it depends on whose barometer, or who you look at for guidance. Like, when I was younger, it was always 18 and grown, get out the house at 18. And so to be an adult.
Or he could be visiting his mom.
Oh, visiting.
Yeah.
Nice way to make sense of that, Moses.
And he just has a super suit wear at every house he goes to.
Poor Frozone. Anyway, so today we're also, in addition to sharing our stories, we are
or if you guys are ready to put on the big pants, we can talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp. What do you guys think?
Moses would like to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm okay with it, Moses. Both these movies, The Incredibles and Ant-Man and the Wasp, they both talk about families. Did you notice that, Moses?
Yeah.
And they both, like in Ant-Man, so we don't have to do spoiler alert because that first Ant-Man was out a long time ago.
Unless somebody has not seen it like us. Like someone like us that has not went to Ant-Man 1 or not went to Ant-Man 2 or has not been to Black Panther or ever any Marvel movie.
Okay, well,
Marvel forever.
Okay, so in the first Ant-Man movie, they kick off the movie. They started off this way, where the man, he was incarcerated for a few years or something like that. And
Scott.
yeah. And so he's the guy who ends up becoming Ant-Man. But when he comes home, the first thing he does is he wants to go see his daughter, trying to be the beautiful, good father. So he goes to see his child, and the mother is angry at him. You need to call first. You shouldn't. You don't pay child support. You ain't got no business over here. This is our new home with my new husband. Why are you here? Of course, the daughter is super excited to see her father, and it's this whole drama. And then he's like, "But
it's kind of funny to me because of there's like when the present that he gave his daughter.
It's like some silly.
It's like a horror present.
Oh, it's horrible, he said.
Like, it's horrible. He's like, it's so horrible, is what the daughter said.
Right.
I like it.
Well,
and then she went to tell mom, and she's like, Mom was so excited that you're here. She choked on her wine.
And so that's a testament to what Moses is sharing, is how much he loves his daughter, and then also how much his daughter loves him. That even though he gives her this pathetic present, she's still just happy to see him, and she adores the present because it was given to her by her father. But that relationship is a really, really strong relationship, and the mother doesn't want it to be like she stops the relationship. She puts a block in it. And part of the reason why she puts the block in is because she said, well, when you get a job and when you get a place of your own and when you start paying child support, then you can see your daughter. And he's just like really, sad about that. And then he goes to, start doing paperwork about it. And he looks at his papers and he's like, okay, I'll finally be able to see my daughter in 377 days or something like that. Like, it's going to take him over a year to get to the point where he can actually see his daughter to follow this mother's guidelines.
So he was making a certain amount of money.
Because he was making money, he just wasn't.
It wasn't that much money, so it took him a year.
And he had a place to live, but it wasn't his own apartment. He was sharing with somebody.
He was sharing with the dogs.
But the point that I think is really, really important to make is she allows him to see the daughter before that situation changes. He ends up proving his worth in some kind of way, probably through his
saving his daughter by a yellow jacket.
Right.
Hey, have you ever heard of the bee called yellow jacket? There's such thing called yellow jacket hornet.
Okay.
So like they're talking about insects, and I thought that was really cool. It was called yellow jacket.
Oh, it went along with it.
Yeah. I never knew that until like later on, like when I started watching Ant-Man, but I finished it with you. Like in the middle, I heard like, oh, there's a yellow jacket bee. I thought yellow jacket was just made up name.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think I did know that. Now, so back to the point that I was making. Eventually, before the movie is over, and definitely before that year expired, he was able to once again build a relationship with his daughter. Not build because he had already built that, but he was able to see his daughter on a regular basis, and the mother was in support of that. And not only was the mother in support of it, but so was her husband, to the point where when you watch the second Ant-Man, they're just one big happy family.
Plus the giant ant was one part of the family, like the pet.
Right. So they're all one big happy family, not just the father and the daughter, but the mother and the mother's husband. So that would be the stepfather. They all are nice to each other. They're all friendly with each other. It's just this like thing that I think should happen in everybody's family, whether you're together or not. If you have children together, why can't we just be cool with each other? And I think they make a very good example of that. And I think it's kind of sad that the example just happens to be white folk. Why can't we have examples like that too? I'm sure we do have Black folk on earth who get along well with their former spouses or their former the parents, they co-parent really well and they have a nice little, but they overdo it. Like they very dramatic about it. They make it seem like they all sleeping together almost, like they're just so happy.
Who?
The father and the stepfather
and
and the
the
mother and the daughter. I think they're making a very, very strong point.
So it's like father inside the same house.
Well, they give each other big group hugs all the time and stuff like that. Like if I mean, you don't have to love on one another like that all the time, but just at least be nice to each other. And I think that all of that loving on each other and giving big hugs is just their way of trying to overly emphasize that even if we don't continue to stay together as a regular core nucleus family unit, we can still be kind and nice to the new families that come along. Do you understand, Moses?
Yeah.
What you looking at?
That TV in the background.
Moses is distracted. Okay. Anything else you would like to share?
Well, we could talk about Ant-Man and Wasp 2 because you was just talking about one.
No, I was talking about 2. They, I said, and then in the second movie, the Ant-Man and Wasp 2, they overly dramatic about it.
But yeah.
I think the other thing about
what do you think about the villain in Ant-Man and Wasp 2? Like, what did you think about him?
You know what? Watching these movies, I don't know why, but the villain always makes me very tired. They just exhaust me. Does that make sense?
No.
Like, I know that the whole purpose, like the reason that there's a villain in the movie is so that you can showcase good versus evil, or good and bad, or love and hate, or to show that balance, that yin and yang. But one of the things that always comes to, I'm like, oh, come on, like just beat him. Like I always want to see good and the righteous triumph. And then sometimes to the point where I'm just tired. But
at the end, they come out.
I mean, I really wanted them to succeed, of course, like I always do.
But inside Infinity War, at the ending.
Oh yeah, we might should just let the people watch that on their own.
Spoiler warnings.
Moses, don't you want to spoil that part for the people?
One person dies.
Well, if you saw Infinity Wars and you already know that Thanos, he snaps his fingers and then all the people start
turning to dust. Black Panther dies. Spider-Man dies.
Yeah, but
Big Guardians of the Galaxy dies.
They make it seem like Ant-Man's gonna be our new hero. He gonna figure out a way.
Well, like,
because I think he's gonna communicate with the ants
to pull him out.
Because those fingers that was snapped, when he snapped those fingers, that got rid of people, right, Moses?
Yeah, it got rid of people.
Do you think it got rid of ants when he snapped his fingers?
I think it's going like people, life, then like it's going in a certain thing of life. Then it starts getting to minerals, earth, rocks. Then it starts getting to the rest of the world. Then the rest of other worlds and galaxies. Then it will wipe out half the galaxy.
So hold on, you think eventually it's going to wipe out all of life form altogether, including ants and things like that?
Yeah, it will be taking its time, but mainly it's just wiping out humans and other.
Well, what's the whole purpose of the snapping the fingers? Is the purpose to start over with life?
I think it's because overpopulating.
Yeah, because he didn't kill off everybody. He only killed off some.
Yeah. So because like in his world, there was a cure because everybody was digging for scraps for food, but they didn't have enough. So his idea was to kill off half of the people so everybody can have most of their scraps and foods.
Okay, well, let's think about that a little.
So some people think Thanos is right to wipe out half the universe, but completely not right.
I don't think it's right either.
Yeah.
Moses, let's go to a station break for announcements and identification, and we're going to listen to a song.
Everybody dies at the end of Infinity War.
Oh, not everybody.
Half people die.
One of our songs from our good brother, Larry D. Edwards. We're going to listen to that. We're going to take a quick little musical break.
Yeah.
You are now listening to One Drop Elopes on Intellectual Radio with Moses and Benita Offset.
This is Moses. Thanks for listening to One Drop Elopes on IntellectualRadio.com, hosted by me and my mom. One Drop Elopes is a constructive response to white supremacy, which is racism. We want to see everyone free. One Drop Elopes chief sponsor is Bonita's Homemade Things, where you can get scrumptious cakes, delicious cookies, and colorful hats and scarves. Join us every Sunday on One Drop Elopes on IntellectualRadio.com. 12 noon Sunday Central. Call in at 708-223-8953, 708-223-8953 to share your thoughts and opinions about our show.
Baby, you know I've fallen. I love you more than my eyes can see. I promise to love you with everything. Wanna be your all and all, forever I'll be. I will give you all the love you deserve and more. As long as we're together, our bond will soar. Baby, promise to leave me never, and protect my heart forever. I'm falling for you. Treasure you more than anything in this world. Anything in this world. The thought of not having you brings pure despair. A love like yours is oh so rare. I don't want nobody else, just you. I just want you. A love like this is oh so true. I would rather die if you're not in my life. I've fallen in love, and you're the reason why. So much. I'm falling for you. Yeah. Said I'm falling. I'm falling, baby. I said, baby. Oh, baby. Yeah. Said I love you. Said I love you. Love you. From the bottom of my heart. Said I love you, baby, baby. I just don't know what feels when you say, baby.
Welcome back to One Drop Elopes with me and Moses.
I have a very important announcement to tell you guys.
I'm your host, Benita Offset, and after I'm done talking about Laurie D. Edwards' song, Fallen, Moses is going to make an important announcement.
Are you done?
Yes, you can find his music on SoundCloud, by the way. And we are here on One Drop Elopes on IntellectualRadio.com. Go ahead, Moses. Make your announcement.
Here on One Drop Elopes, IntellectualRadio.com. Tomorrow will be my birthday. It will be my birthday.
Happy birthday, Moses.
July 23rd.
I'm so glad you're here on Earth with us. Thank you very much.
I'm so glad you brought me into this world so we
Yeah.
can talk about Marvel.
There's somebody else you have to thank. Who was that?
Dad?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it all by myself. and probably the creator too as well. Because if it wasn't for the creator, you may have come on a different day or something like that. Okay. So the other thing that we want to share with you all.
Imagine if I was on a Tuesday. Imagine if I was born on a Tuesday.
You were born on a Sunday. You were
Thank
born in
God.
the afternoon. You were born very quickly. Like I didn't have to wait hardly at all. Like less than a couple hours, boom, you were here. And that included the time that it took me to drive to the hospital. You weighed almost 10 and a half pounds.
10 and a half.
Yes. I can't remember. I think you were either 22 inches or 20 inches, something like that. But you was a big baby.
Baby.
And you came out, your hands were almost as big as mine when you came out the womb. And I remember your dad saying, hey, Benita, look at the mitts on him. That's what he called them. Your hands are bigger than mine?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So then, what else is important about you? But so for Moses' birthday, what he would like is some White Castle. It's what you asked me for.
I said White Castle, pie, and Dr. Pepper.
Isn't that crazy? It's all about the tummy. I don't really understand that. Maybe that's because he's turning 12. So all year we've had almost the entire year of you being 11 as co-host on this show. And so I won't be able to say that anymore. Well, he's only 11. I'm going to have to say he's 12.
I am 12. Next year, I'll be 13.
Right. So he's a preteen. One of the things that I also enjoy about Moses is he teaches me a lot.
On YouTube,
One of
Facebook.
the most lately, one of the things that he's taught me is he watched these different YouTube videos and he brings me what he learns. So he watched a video called one of the things that he put in my atmosphere is all these, the worst ever. Or he also put in my atmosphere these bugs and creatures. Or another one,
like serious delivery.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about any of those, Moses?
Well, there was on serious delivery. It was like the worst ever, or top 10 stuff, and it was like stuff that you would never expect. Like there was like top 17 worst parents ever, and she expected the worst thing to be cursing at your child, and the worst thing that was on there was killing, murder, rape,
right,
child labor.
Or torture.
Torture.
The absolute worst parents in the world, they actually torture their children. I was like, I can't imagine this. Don't do that. Oh, I see what you're doing. You're trying to straighten it out. Yeah, that makes sense. It sounds better now, too. Say hello in there.
Hello.
Yeah, that makes a difference. Maybe you fixed it. But the other thing that was really, that I was like so surprised to see that Moses showed me was the top 10 bodybuilders.
Yeah.
But bodybuilders, they go through so much, like
steroids.
Yeah. It's so much steroids. There was a woman who literally became a man. She just looked so much like a man. Her breasts started getting shrinking. She became so muscular, and she was already muscular. Like she won one of the bodybuilder competitions, but it just wasn't enough for her.
Maybe if I just have a lot more muscle right here, I can.
It was kind of an intense training or an intense. I think maybe the drugs caused them to have like such a high intense desire to want to not want to stop. Like they became like a slave to it. And then of course Moses, he shows me about all the spiders, the bugs, the insects, like the top 10 spiders or the top biggest snakes
and there's also top 10 dangerous airplane flights. And there was one that crossed in the middle of the interstate.
Oh yeah, because that also like the most dangerous places to visit. Yeah. And it's like on the side of a cliff. I mean, these things don't interest me at all. Right.
But it's so interesting that you have.
But it's so interesting to him. So he watched these things and he points them out to me. And then causes me to learn things that I never would have learned prior to that. So I appreciate you being on Earth, Moses. Thank you very much.
Oh, also like top 10 things growing inside people.
I don't remember that one.
Like
Kinda.
top 10 dangerous lab experiments.
Oh,
top 9 dangerous.
Yes, I remember that one. I do.
There was like the last one was like a robot that can run by eating water and human flesh.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Can you imagine that they are actually building a robot that survives off of eating human flesh?
Yes. Human flesh and water and
Like,
minerals.
why would you create such a thing? Like, why would you create a robot?
Well, actually, not human flesh survives off eating meat. And human flesh is on one of those.
The lesson to be learned here is that we can learn from anybody, anytime, any place, including our children. And I'm sure you all experience this as well, learning from your children.
It's like the worlds got switched. You learn from me, I learn from you, you learn from me, and I learn from you.
It's always been like that, Moses. Always. It's just you have to be smart enough to recognize that you don't know everything. Kind of like Neely Fuller told us that you have to learn all things about all
I won't be
things.
the smartest person ever until I don't learn everything.
Yeah, you'll never learn everything. Like, you know how Neely Fuller says you have to learn all things about all things, and it's impossible to learn all things about all things. So
well, I don't think it's impossible, but it's very, 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 very hard. Like it's on like 1 to a million.
definitely 1 to a million hard. So I'm learning, and I'm still learning, and I love to learn. I remember being in 20 years old, learning so much from your older sister. Like,
Rajay?
Yes, she's taught me a lot too over the years.
She's taught you about technology?
Well, mostly, you know what I learned from Rajay lately is the appreciation of art. You know, Rajay being an artist, Rajay learning what she learned from art, you know, even down to the colors. You know, she gave you a whole speech on color, things that I just didn't even know about being an artist, like the hues and the tones, and again, things that, you know, my passion is trying to get free. And so I focus on that. I read books on that. I watch videos on that. Like when I'm on YouTube, I'm watching Amos Wilson, Boyce Watkins,
or what
Umar
we
Johnson.
usually watch, seriously.
Yeah. But Moses, he'll watch Cinema Sins, you know, just things that make him laugh. You know, you see he's got a much different personality than I do.
Like, I also show you Cinema Sins.
Yeah, you showed me that also. I didn't even know that existed until you brought that into my atmosphere.
Yeah, usually the first time you interact with Cinema Sins, you heard that thing, you're like, ding, ding, ding.
Right.
And he was like, turn that off, shut that off. And it kept going, ding, ding, ding. That was a notification to let you know that there's more sins.
It's for those unaware, what it is this guy on YouTube
who points out the sins in movies.
Right, go ahead.
And also there's music sins, and some other people do sins copying off of him, and some other people do sins copying off of others. They copy off him.
So he'll point out, ding, ding, ding,
ding, ding, ding, ding, ding, ding. And like, there's like 100 or something sins sometimes, and you have to hear that like 100 times.
And what he counts as a sin is something as simple as, for instance, he has one for Black Panther, and there's this moment in Black Panther where they're in a bulletproof car,
and then Okoye jumps out of the bulletproof car just to shoot them. Like, you're in the bulletproof car.
And so he counts that as a sin. Like, why would you do that? So anyway, well, we're gonna go to another quick musical break, and station announcements.
I can't wait until he doesn't anymore.
Thank you so much for listening and downloading this broadcast, or sharing this broadcast.
The end.
To One Drop Elopes on Intellectual Radio with Moses and Benita all set.
Thank you for listening to One Drop Elopes on IntellectualRadio.com, hosted by me and my mom. One Drop Elopes is a constructive response to white supremacy, which is racism. We want to see everyone free. Everyone free. The tea sponsor for One Drop Elopes is Benita's homemade things, where he scratches cakes and delicious cookies and colorful hats and scarves. One Drop Elopes airs every Sunday at 12 noon Central. Call in at 708-223-8953. Now back to our show.
Marvelous, beautiful, amazing, special, sensual, loving, enchanting, so delighting. These are my words for you. This is for all that you do. You are my diamond in the rough. Yeah, yeah. You are the meaning of love. Wouldn't trade you for nothing in this world. I'm so glad that you're my girl. Nothing compares to you. And what do we have? So incredible. Your love is so incredible. Baby, you're so incredible. Your love is so incredible. I'm thankful, grateful, exalted, fortunate, enlightened, emotional, joyful, so jubilant. These words describe how I feel. I can believe it's so real. You are a blessing to me. You are my breath that gives me life. You're the fire that gives me life. Nothing compares to what we have. Incredible, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So incredible, baby. You're so incredible, so incredible. I find myself on my knees thanking God for you every day. My light at the end of the tunnel, my warm season in the month of May. To describe you with words is just not enough. Yes, yes, you are my diamond in the rough. When we hug, when we touch, when we hold hands, when we kiss, you got me on a mental, spiritual, and emotional bliss. I can spend hours telling you how much of you I adore. But so many words and feelings come out, still I feel I need to say so much more. Baby, you're so incredible. You are. Baby, baby. So incredible. Baby, baby.
Greetings, welcome back to One Drop Elopes on IntellectualRadio.com. We was just listening to our boy Laurie D. Edwards with So Incredible. Again, you guys can find his music on SoundCloud. Now, back to Moses. We got Mama and Moses today, and Moses is sharing with the people all of the different things in his head, which is a very fascinating
Okay,
place.
what was in my head is Incredibles. Incredibles. And
Should I get you some singing lessons? Maybe.
no,
Okay.
I'm singing purpose.
The fun thing that he shared is that, hey, the song is Incredibles, and at the beginning to start off the show, we talked about the movie Incredibles. Exactly. So having fun in studio with Moses. Thanks again, Moses, for being here with us. Now,
I was gonna talk about underwater structures.
Underwater structures. Okay.
Like there was this time that I saw on this YouTube video that someone built a underwater pyramid.
Okay.
It was like very tall underwater pyramid. Do you get this? Where's the wow? Like wow.
Yeah.
Like people have been finding lots of underwater structures, and that have just wowed me. Like really?
Did they say, Moses, how old this underwater structure is?
I don't know, but I can't remember because that was
or
a
how
while ago.
big or how. What do you remember about it? Let me ask you like that.
Like it was like a literal shaped pyramid, and then it was.
But it's not real small that you could just pick it up and move it around. This is something that's really big. Can you go inside?
Yeah,
it?
like we're this in the pyramid. Water's up here. Pyramid's like.
You know, Moses, I've been to Egypt before, and when I went to Egypt, I stood next to the pyramids. Like one block of the pyramids are made up of many blocks. One block is bigger than a regular person. Yeah. Like you standing next to the block, and one block is like as big as your house. And so there's a lot of like, how did they build these blocks? How did they put these blocks? So can I tell you my theory? I think that people used to be big, like really big. Like I think people used to be so big that they were bigger than dinosaurs. Like dinosaurs were their little pets. And so they just picked up these blocks and just, they picked up these blocks like dinosaurs? They were bricks, like what we would consider a brick today, like a little old tiny brick. And you stack the bricks like a bricklayer. So yeah, that's my theory.
So you're
Does that make sense?
It kind of makes sense because it's like a little baby playing with this blocks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we had these really huge, and the other reason why.
So wait, maybe what if there's like a little giant baby playing with his blocks, and he built the pyramid, and then the mother's like, "Come on, let's go eat some giant sharks or megalodon," and he's like, "Okay, I'm coming," and then like some humans came along, saw it. That looks like a pyramid for our.
Part of the reason why I feel this way is because. Now, here's the weird part, though. When you go inside these pyramids, the doorways are not large like that. So that would kind of cut my theory to, cut it down. It would say, oh, okay, well, your theory doesn't make any sense because what about the doorways or when you go inside of the tunnels or, the tunnels do have like, there's a lot of headroom inside the tunnels. The ceiling is really high, but it's not high enough for a giant like what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but what I'm thinking is they got the idea from giants to make, and then they started putting tunnels and stuff inside of it to make for their tombs.
Yeah, so, well, what would be your theory on how the pyramid got underwater or how a pyramid was built in the first place?
Well, God must have been trying to, God must have just gave a person an idea. Like, someone must have, like, 1,000 of lots of bricks that can be used for pyramids. Like, what do I do with all these bricks?
Well, if one brick is the size of our house, how can you lift that one brick?
Helicopter. Thousands of helicopters, planes. It's either that or someone with super.
We're talking about thousands of years ago. There was a helicopter back then?
No, but
something maybe like it?
They used like multiple people. Like I'm pretty sure they had tons of strong people and they whipped them like, go! And then they would move 1 inch by 1 inch.
That reminds me of that little child's movie and so many other movies when they're talking about the story of Moses and they have, the slaves in the sand and they're whipping them like that. But I don't really know. It's like, how do you force? Like, why would you be a slave and create that? I'm thinking that.
Well, maybe because if they didn't do it, they would instantly kill them. That could be one thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
They could have, they could have had bow and arrows.
Well, we have not
They could have
figured
walked up
out
to
the
some
answer.
people saying like conquer some under some village and say like, "Hey, I'm not going with you, bro." And then he just pulls up his spear like, "Okay, let's go."
The other thing too is, how did it get underwater? Underwater, it could very well have been like maybe it was built there and then earth shifted and then water came into that atmosphere. You know, maybe the structure was already there on regular land and then water came later, something like
Yeah,
that.
it's like deep down in the ocean. Well, it's like in the part of the ocean where it's a bit darker, but you can still see a tiny bit of light coming through.
It reminds me of Atlantis too. Maybe that's real. Well, we have come
Or-
to.
Have you ever thought that someone put it on the pyramid, then someone put the pyramid on wheels, then just rolled it, or in the giant boat and then rolled it into the water?
Okay, Moses. Moses thoughts, ideas, presentations, discussions here on One Drop Elopes. We have come to a close. Last little things you want to say, Moses, before we go
We can
bye
call
to the
this
people.
episode Moses, huh?
We
Or
gonna,
if Rajne's in it, we can call it Rajne, huh?
we're gonna call it Moses, huh?
Or
So thanks for listening to Moses, huh?
Moses, huh? Yeah, we can call this Moses, huh? Moses,
Okay.
what?
Thanks.
Or
So
Moses, what?
say thank you to the people, Moses, so we can get up out of here.
Thank you for celebrating my birthday, and thank you for celebrating One Drop Elopes with me, Mom.
Say thanks to Earl.
Thanks.
Thanks, Earl.
Who?
Thanks to Earl.
Oh, Earl.
Yeah, thanks to Earl for
Thank you, Earl.
being on point and helping us out today and being
Everybody say hi to Earl.
Okay. Thanks everybody for downloading this broadcast, listening to it wherever you're at, whether you're on iHeart, YouTube, Spreaker, iTunes, Facebook. We appreciate you so much, and please share this video. This is our outro. Talk to y'all later. Peace out.
You just finished listening to One Drop Elopes on Intellectual Radio, hosted by my daughter, Benita Osset. Benita Osset is on Instagram, Morris, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Email your thoughts, questions, concerns, or opinions to benitaosset@gmail.com. Benita will be happy to respond. Join Benita every Sunday at 12 noon on IntellectualRadio.com.